everyone, Chris here from anabolicmen.com, where we give you 100% research-backed men's health advice. Now today we're going to just do a short video. I want to introduce you to the concept of the testosterone work principle. I've been talking about it for years, ever since I came out with the original Test Shock program probably 4 years ago or so. And the testosterone work principle is something that I put together after I was looking through all of the research that scientists had done on trying to elicit the biggest hormonal response in athletes and in trained resistance trained men as possible. And basically I noticed there were several variables that I just kept seeing over and over and over. So I put it together into one formula, one principle that's easy to understand and that I've been talking about for years. But now I just want to reintroduce it and actually do a YouTube video on it now that we have a YouTube channel. So what is the testosterone work principle? The testosterone work principle really defines neuromuscular training. It defines the concept of the influence and the connection between your nervous system and hormonal output in your endocrine system. So this is the optimal way to train theoretically and principally to increase hormonal output in your body to support the overload that is happening in your training. So basically what it is, it's activating as much muscle volume as possible, i.e. doing as much work on as much muscle volume as possible in as short a period of time as possible, which basically that could be translated as make it explosive. And that is done under a stress threshold, because if you go over a stress threshold, what's going to happen is you're going to have a cortisol induction related to that training, and what's going to happen is the cortisol is going to suppress the androgen production. So you want to stay under that, and you want to get as close to that as possible, but not cross it. And then when I wrote the Thor program, actually as an update, like a weight training update for this testosterone training, I realized that it was also missing another piece, and that piece was by doing this, by understanding this principle and doing it in muscle tissue that could increase androgen receptor density and influence the androgen receptor sensitivity in that muscle tissue. So how does this look? So basically the first element, and for those of you who like equations, maybe you liked high school physics or whatever, this is one of the first things you learn in high school physics, is the concept of work. So work as a physics construct is equal to the magnitude of the force multiplied by the displacement. So this is pretty easy to think about when it comes to training, right? So you wanted to be able to define you want to have the most work done possible in as short a period of time as possible. So what is that? So the magnitude of the force is basically you would look at the weight and the distance over which you're displacing that weight. So that's really all there is to it. So imagine, an asteround squat, right? So you have a squat and you're coming all the way from the ground all the way up. That is how far you're displacing that weight. Also, you can imagine a muscle up. So you're standing, say I'm standing right here. The pull-up bar is maybe 7 or 8 feet high, and then I'm displacing all my whole body weight and or maybe even added weight to that over the entire 7 or 8 feet plus a little more distance because you go over it. So you see that there is actually a displacement here. So that is how you define work done. So again, testosterone work principle, you want to do as much work as possible on as much muscle volume as possible, as much muscle tissue as possible in as short a period of time as possible. How does that look as an equation? Basically, you have the work, and then you multiply that by the product of muscle volume activation. So MVA equals muscle volume activation and intensity. So basically you're multiplying the work done, which is this, multiplied by the product of muscle volume activation and intensity. So this could also be translated into these equal the same thing. So that's what the testosterone work principle is. And to have the caveat is basically that this needs to be less than wherever the stress threshold is. And this will be different for everyone, this stress threshold, because some people are more trained than others, and they can handle higher training loads. However, this is actually where the caveat demonstrates that those people who are relatively untrained, and this has been shown in research, those people who are relatively untrained actually get a bigger hormonal response. This is indicative of the magnitude of the hormonal response that you're going to get. So the people who have a lower stress threshold, as long as they stay below it, will have a bigger, a more easily attainable hormonal response relative to someone who, for example, is an elite athlete and is highly trained. Their stress threshold will be much higher. Therefore, the magnitude here that they need to achieve, they need to do much more work in order to get as close as possible to that stress threshold. So it's a lot more difficult for highly trained people, and this is where you see the diminishing returns. You see the newbie gains is another way to say it, is like people who just start weight training can get newbie gains in the first year. They can gain a lot more muscle than they would be able to gain in maybe year 2 through 5 of their weight training career or their weight training habits. This is the exact equation that's indicative of this entire concept. And it also happens to demonstrate right here the magnitude of the hormonal response that you're going to have. So this is, again, the Testosterone Work Principle. And I'm not really sure if anyone's ever truly defined this. I might have been the first person to actually put it all together into one equation, so maybe I should trademark it or something. But that's what it is, and this is the actual representation of it. And again, the additional caveat is to do this in muscle tissue that has high androgen receptor density, because that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. So that's the Testosterone Work Principle. Hopefully this is a good way for you to understand it. Ask any questions in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next video.